Mills,
Melissa Morrow.
Don Hudson.
Mary Elizabeth Kofer.
Victoria Johnson.
Great. Do I have a motion for the minutes?
Oh, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Great. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Awesome. All right, let's start with our Eagle Scout project.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. No problem.
Thank you. I guess I can move over.
Oh, come on over. Join. So introduce your name and where you live, and then go for your project.
My name's Weston Bain. I'm on Vale Street, and I had the trail renovation project that was in April.
What was your last name?
Bain, B-A-I-N.
Oh. I forgot about
Alright.
that.
Hello, commissioners and city employees. Thank you for your dedication to our city and for allowing me the chance to speak today. I'm Weston Bain, and I'm a scout in Troop 31. In January, I came before y'all and asked permission to elevate some of the eroded edge stones around the trails and walking areas of the park. I was able to organize a crew over the course of 3 days. We made and worked on several areas of the trail. I'm proud to say we had 28 volunteers for a combined total of 85 hours on the trail restoration project. I'd like to thank all of you for allowing me the chance to complete my Eagle Scout project in the park that I grew up playing in. I especially want to thank Ms. Mills for meeting with me and giving me the idea, Mr. Hudson for meeting with me multiple times and explaining the strategy and procedure for taking the stones, and Mr. Para and the Parks Department for all the help, advice, and supplies. And as part of my project, I raised funds to cover the costs of the tools that weren't able to be provided by the park and a few other things like snacks for volunteers. And I would like to donate the excess funds to the Rollingwood Park. I have a check for $435.54 to present to you to go towards park projects. Thank you again for this chance to complete this project. It was a great project, and I am grateful for this opportunity. Right. Who should I give this
For your
to?
work and for the money.
I know. Thanks so much.
Who do I give this to?
You can hand it to me.
Thank you.
I would take it, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want it to look.
Weston, it's been really interesting. I'm on that trail so much. And when I did not realize you were going to do the area that you did by that low wall, and when I saw that, I'm like, wait, what happened here? Do you know how long that's been messed up? I mean, for
Well, as long as I remember.
Yeah, years that's been messed up. And I just had no idea you were going to do that. That wasn't easy work. He gave you the hardest thing. Digging those out, that must have taken forever to dig those out.
85 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations, and I hope this helps you on your journey to Eagle.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for giving me the chance to speak.
Perfect. All right, Western Hills and girls softball.
Hello. Sorry I missed these meetings. It's work, and I'm not on the. I guess I don't have it on my calendar, but I tried to watch some of the videos and all that. But for the season, we're winding up now. Most of our teams finish this weekend. We do have one 10U game they're making up for rainouts. They're going to play Friday night, and I believe that'll be it for softball. Little League usually goes longer than us because they do all-star teams. So I would expect them to still be up on field two probably for another month or so, but I'm not 100%. I think it all depends on how well they do during the season or whatever. So that's it for me. I did have one comment, and I don't know if I should address it now or not, but on the field house improvements, I didn't see it on the agenda, so I didn't know if we were going to talk about that later or if I should.
We're not going to talk about it today, but if you have feedback directly related to girls softball, you could give it now, but it's not top of our list right this
Yeah. So I guess I would like to be part of those discussions. I wasn't really privy to there was a remodeling happening until I think I was out there working on the fields
Nobody
a
was.
month ago,
Yeah.
and council member Phil McDuffie came up and kind of started talking to me about it, and I was all for. I know we've kind of gone away from using the concession stand once COVID happened, and it was even a pain in the behind before that. So I know we've got a lot of space there, but I think as part of the plan, I want to be part of it just because I think it was mentioned in the presentation last week that the tractor and one of those things doesn't need to be used anymore. That's incorrect. We do use it for our dirt field. Little League has somebody that does their stuff. Volunteers still work on field 2, and that's written kind of in the lease still that
Yeah.
we do our own dirt stuff right now. We might kind of go to paying someone to do it, but right now we still use it. So I just want to make sure I'm kind of kept in the loop just because there are certain things I know I want to give my input on and what we still need and might need going forward.
I can't
we want
imagine
your
doing
input.
this without you.
Yeah, no, that's great input,
No.
and we're at the very early stages. Part of it was that there's a lot of stuff in there that is not being utilized.
Yeah, no,
A lot of
definitely.
space, and so we were just as Alex was sort of looking at a grand plan for what are some underutilized areas and what could we make more accessible and used by the community. That was one of the, but it's not at the top right now, and so we are in the earliest stages of even contemplating. I think we're wanting to complete some of these other projects
Yeah,
first,
definitely.
and then probably Yeah.
It had been drawn out so well. I was like, oh my gosh, they're pretty far along.
Our resident
yeah.
architect here.
So,
that was free work. I was gonna say we haven't spent any money.
yeah.
We've been looking at plans.
Okay. And then also, I guess, just bring it up, and I don't know if you've done it yet or not, but as from my understanding, and I was not involved with the league back then, but my understanding, a lot of the funds raised to build that field house were privately funded.
Yes.
And so I don't know what the solicitation was done to build that field house, like if it was told it was going to be for Western Hills Little League and softball to use. I know it replaced like an old concession stand and stuff that was in bad shape from what I was reading, some of the history of the park or whatever. I just want to make sure that donors that gave, if you retrofit, sometimes you got to be careful on what you retrofit if donors gave money to build it or whatever. But just my 2 cents is working with
And Alex was
nonprofits.
one of the donors.
Yeah.
Catherine Horn is the one who spearheaded
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
And
that's
I
just
know
from
that-
working with nonprofit organizations full time. Like you got to make sure with donations that
Yeah.
when people
So
gave money
cities
for
are
that.
a little different.
Yeah.
Once you give it to the city gets to decide
Okay.
what to do with it. So, but that's not that we wouldn't, because we are in the middle of trying to rebuild and have a Friends of the Park, so we do want to build confidence with people that when they donate to something that it really goes to the things that
Yeah, that will be there. Yeah, because they have a lot of people have their names on it and everything too.
Yep.
So,
Sure.
all right, I appreciate that.
Thank
Great,
you.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to take number 8 out of order, and right before we get started on the rest of the work today, I just kind of want to give you an overview or ideas of how to kind of go through this today. So 8 is basically if you look through the projects that were proposed, what I'm hoping to do is in, the next 15 or less, 15, 20 minutes, have us come to some consensus about which bid to recommend to City Council, because they're gonna approve it on next Wednesday. So it'd be really great if we had something to approve, one of the bids that was given. And then as far as, then the next thing that we would look at is the parking. You guys probably saw a lot of the pictures of different parking options. And then after that, we would tackle the Friends of, I at least want to leave at least 10 minutes, and I have to leave by 1, 10 minutes for us to discuss the future of Friends of Rollingwood Park donation. It's okay if we don't get to a final decision on the parking lot, but I'd love for us to make a little progress and find out where everybody is on it. So with that, and then the tree is really, if for some reason we plowed through everything and had so many great ideas that we were ready to say, we know where we want the trees to be, we could move forward. But I just left that in there. Don't think that we're gonna have much more conversation about the trees, other than the trees will be included in the parking project, you know,
They're
for their.
secondary in
Yeah, exactly.
consideration.
All right, so let's start with 8. We had several bids that came in. Just to kind of review, we did change the scope of the project to being more of this layered approach as opposed to one retaining wall. We did get at least 2 bids that are under the 50,000, so they wouldn't even be subject to if we wanted to go through the process again. But just to remind everyone that instead of doing a retaining wall, we've moved towards a design that looks more natural, more like what the park looks like. Here are some pictures from one of the groups that put in a bid. This is Mas Verde. So you can kind of see this is some of the kinds of work that they did that they thought looked most similar to Mas Verde's on the top and Gomez is on the bottom. That looks the most similar to what we have. For those of you who have looked at the bids, there was one bid that was way high.
It's this 240.
Yeah. So
This is Gage and Cade
Mhm.
from Bertram.
So I think
I think we could take
I
that
think
one
that
out.
I think that one's an outlier. I can say for myself, the 2 that really rose to the top were Mas Verde and Gomez. So I don't know if y'all want to ask any questions or if they're, about the bids. I know Alex is here. She's worked with Gomez before, and
They're very reputable.
yeah, they do. I know part of them coming in and being able to be low is they do so many projects in our neighborhood. They're here all the time, and they like the idea of giving back to the community. That's not to say that any of the other bidders don't want to give back to the community. It's not as inexpensive.
I felt like they were almost bidding different jobs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It does feel like that.
It does. So my question was more for, given that Gomez works hand in hand with Alex on several projects, that they may have had a different understanding or a better understanding of what was intended. Other than that, I don't really.
I mean, literally, everything is 20 grand apart. I mean, like,
Yeah.
what is happening? Is there anybody have you looked at all 3 bids to kind of go, are these apples to apples?
Alex,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
it felt like, I did also notice like road base was part of one bid, and I don't see Gomez ever working with road base when I've observed their projects, so that's where it felt like, oh, they have a very different understanding of what we want, the project that was going that direction.
I agree, and I think that the other 2 bids besides Mas Verde and Gomez, they don't do this kind of work, and so I think they're almost guessing or making certain assumptions. And I've never met them or spoken with them. Of course, Mas Verde and Gomez each met me here individually. They were interested in getting all the details and talking about it, so each of them had a pretty good understanding of what was expected.
Mas Verde has met with us quite a bit. His bid he bid the trees. So he's the only one that I have any familiarity with is Mas Verde. But he's more, I forget what his cost is exactly.
It's 41 versus 21
Yeah,
for Gomez.
that's where of course, Moss Verde really, 8-page bid, he really covered a lot of ground. Of course, there's some boilerplate in there.
I wanted to add that a resident in Rollingwood has donated a bunch of the boulders that would be perfect for this job, and Gomez picked them up, and we're storing them, so they're already kind of, familiar with this process. I don't think Moss Verde has done very many of these specific types of projects. I went through their website and I asked them to provide photos, and I don't think it's kind of in their wheelhouse. I think they can do it. I will say that, and I've said this is really an art project. It requires an artisan's eye, like to really be able to look at the boulders, turn them around, find the best face, fit them together neatly, and that's the skill that you're looking for truly in this size and visibility that you have here. So
You've worked with Gomez before. You're real familiar with working with him, because my understanding is that we're not going to go to him or to anybody with a, here's the plan, execute. This will be it'll take some guidance as the project is going forward.
I think Alex has done that by meeting with them and giving them
Yeah.
the scope to get the bids.
I will say one thing about Moss Verde is, I don't know how to comment on the artist part of it all, but they are used to working in public spaces. I've seen miles and miles of their work, miles of it, including the trailhead that they're doing for the Violet Crown Trail. So I think there's some artistry involved there. And when I look at the number of people, thousands of people that move through there, I feel confident in the sustainability of the projects and the usability of it by the public. So I don't know what to say about what you're talking about, the eye and the artistry, but I also can't speak to why is there a $20,000 difference in the bids. I think that would be something to talk to them about.
Well,
That-
is one of them quoting boulders and one of them isn't?
that was what I probably didn't clarify, that Gomez knows that some of the boulders have been donated, so part of that cost has kind of been pulled out.
Well, I'd like
So.
to get an apples to apples bid. I think that would be helpful.
Well, I don't know that we want to wait another month for that, because we can take this to council next week if we choose a bid to take to them. Is that right, Melissa?
Okay, well, going forward on any other projects, though, I'd like to make sure that we're doing that more fairly, since they've been involved with spending time at the park with us. I'd like to be a little.
And we've reached out to them also with respect to the parking lot and the trees, and helping us to see if that's something that they would be willing to sort of choreograph with us. So they're certainly still part of the conversation of things happening in the park.
And
But I
you
just
mean
want
Moss
to make sure
Verde.
they.
Did I? Yeah.
You said, you didn't say either one.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
meant
just
Moss Verde.
clarifying.
Yeah.
That's Moss Verde.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we get them the information even for those projects ahead.
Okay. Well, I will say that Gomez's bid did not really change, honestly, even once we got the boulders. I think that they kind of have in their mind what this is going to cost, and maybe there'll be some savings, but I think we could also use the boulders in other locations. So
Well, I agree with Lori. We kind of want to move forward with
Yeah, I
something.
think we need to move forward with this.
Hasn't city council approved like 30,000 for
RCDC.
a dam of some sort?
RCDC.
RCDC.
Okay, city council hasn't yet.
No, city council has also.
Okay.
And it's really, we're just picking who's gonna do it.
Okay.
And at the last council meeting, I went and spoke, and, because they actually asked that question, does it have to go back to RCDC since it changed from the retaining wall? And it doesn't, because it had to do with, the wording of it was more about, making sure that the water flow coming off of there, the way that it had, that we were building something that, can't
Spread
remember
it out.
Deterred the water.
Deterred the water flow, it just made it more smooth. So this was a solution that met the criteria of what the RCDC had approved and what City Council had approved, and really also brought the cost way down to a more affordable and more beautiful solution, which is what we've all been building towards.
And I think both companies will do a beautiful job. We
Yeah.
just need to decide on one and push it through to council.
And
It's hard for me not to go, if we tried the 20, and even if they only did half the job and had Moss Verde come and finish it, if for some reason we weren't happy, we wouldn't be any worse off.
Right.
you know, I guess I can agree with you, but I'm looking at not just the beauty, but what I want it to do the job, which is
For
to-
sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking
For
at that. Can they deal with the erosion, with the runoff, the
Yeah.
drainage issues?
There's
Which
not
is-
that much water that's the problem is that it's been going on for a really long time, but you look at the area that's being drained, it's not even the roof of the field house. That's picked up by gutters and downspouts on either side. It's just the area that's eroded that's where the water's coming from. So it's not like we've got fields 3, 4, 5, 1 and 2 all draining across there. It's that it's just been like that for a long time. I
Yeah.
think if we just build something that stair-stepped, spread it out, didn't give the water a preferred path, I think that's how I see the
I think
solution to
actually,
that.
I guess I would disagree to a certain extent, because when I look at the erosion there, even right there by the steps, that's pretty significant.
It is, but it's because of how long it's been going on, I
Well,
think.
well, we can, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So,
Let's move on.
what I'd like to know is, so Alan, you are giving a lot of puzzling looks over there. So would you like to speak at all?
I'll speak briefly. So
Okay.
I know bits and pieces of this, and it kind of predates my arrival here. The concern that I would have is the donated rocks. If the bids aren't apples to apples, as the commission said, it skews it a lot. I mean, limestone boulders, I'm not sure what they normally run, $500 a ton, $700 a ton, something like that. So somewhere in the region of like $17,000 to $20,000. So if Gomez's bid includes donated boulders, that's the difference between them and
Right.
Mas Verde. And so I don't want to improperly award a bid to somebody because they had inside information or had access to some sort of donation that wasn't made available to the other contractors. I'm new here, I don't know any of these people, I don't really care who gets the bid as long as they do a good work. At least for now I don't know them, so it's quite nice. I just want to make sure it's done correctly. I know we'd like to move along with the project, but I'd be remiss as a city administrator to say, no, I didn't mention that we need to make sure it lines up properly. Generally in my career, if these quotes are, they're so far out of each other, I think you said at the very beginning, one of them is 12 times what the other one is. And that's normally an issue with the specifications or a misunderstanding of the specifications. As you said, some people had reached out and tried to get clarification. Those people who submitted the $250,000 bid didn't reach out, so that's kind of on them for not asking about it or making some suppositions that were incorrect. But that's my only concern, is that if there's free boulder somewhere, the boulders, the actual cost of those rocks, because they are large, more expensive rocks, is a significant cost for the project.
It's not all of the rocks. It's just some.
And that's what I mean, is I don't even know, I don't know how many rocks there are, but it sounds like Gomez already has possession of the rocks. So I don't know if the rocks were donated to Gomez, or if they're donated to us, and then Gomez is somehow looking after them for us. Okay, so you're at your house. Okay, so so we don't know that. So if we knew there were however many linear feet, how many tons of boulders, we should put that in specifications document to really have that. So I think if the difference in the cost is comparable, and it's up to the commission, of course, how you recommend it, it might be worthwhile noting to, if you're interested in the other bidders, noting that these things are available, because it does sound like there was kind of an information asymmetry that might have skewed these bids.
So my one argument to that would be
Mhm.
that none of us were aware of a donation, but one of the bidders went and found a donor, as opposed to
Oh, and that's fine, yeah. If
Yeah,
they were
yeah,
donated to that
because
private
they
company,
were
sure.
in the neighborhood. And so what I would say is that all of them had the opportunity, and many of them do this, where they know they're working at one site and they take,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I'm removing here and I'm bringing there. But usually they don't tell the person purchasing that they got them for free.
Yeah. Well, that's just business. Yes,
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
business. And
If
so,
Gomez got
yeah.
the rocks donated to them as a business, that's just a competitive advantage in the business field. That's fine.
Yeah.
But if it was donation to the city, that's
We're not
a different
aware
game.
of a donation to the city of rocks.
Neither am I.
Yeah. So I guess that would be my.
So Gomez got these two donated?
Gomez has a bid that they're gonna produce rocks They didn't tell me where they're coming from, or they didn't tell us.
Oh, I
where
didn't
they're
know that they
coming
got them donated. I thought that you had somebody that donated them.
Yeah.
Somebody donated them. We needed them moved. Gomez was available to move them, so they moved
So
them.
they did not get them donated?
They were not donated to Gomez. No.
Okay, so that's a big difference.
Yeah.
from. But now, when did that happen?
So that, do you understand
Um,
the difference?
in
Gomez did not get them donated.
Well,
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It kinda does.
but Gomez never came to the city and said, here's some rocks.
Yeah.
Because,
So if we don't take this bid, Gomez has those rocks. They're their rocks.
Well, no, they're currently nobody's rocks. They're just.
Do we have rocks that are nobody's rocks? They
We
don't.
moved them for the
Okay, I
city.
feel like we're getting a little.
Yeah,
upset.
we're
Yeah,
getting
yeah, this
sideways
is-
here,
Yeah.
and
So I would just say again.
how do you want to do this? Do
So
you want
what
somebody
I
to make a motion?
Yes, I would say we need, if
I-
you want to have
Just-
a motion.
I got,
Yeah, go ahead.
they're both the bidders that we're looking at, Alex, you've worked with Gomez. You're confident he would do a good job, and you've worked with him. And Mary Elizabeth, you've worked with Ted Moss before. Ted Moss, I've met with him 3 times at least up here about the trail and trees and things. And he strikes me as very competent, knows his stuff. So really, they're both competent. I mean, I don't think.
Yeah, we all
I don't
think.
think we get into one and go, oh no, this is not gonna work.
Agree.
So,
Agree. We have 2 great bids,
yeah,
and it's just pulling the trigger
yeah,
on
one is half the price of the other.
Are you gonna?
If Moss Verde got the bid, then we could probably get him to pick up the rock somehow. But they're available I guess they're sort of like in limbo now, but it's something. So are you suggesting we take a vote now on who we think we should give we should?
I'm saying if someone feels comfortable enough to make a motion for one of the bidders, that's how we would continue the discussion.
I would like to make a motion to award the bid to Gomez. I love their photos that they've used. I think they line up well with what we want to do down there. It's half the price. Again, if we needed additional work or some supplement, we could go back and ask Moss Verde. Moss Verde we may give the tree project to. I'm making a motion to award the project to Gomez.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. So now we have discussion.
More?
Well, I just allow the
okay,
opportunity.
Just
I will
a little
discuss.
lightheartedness.
We got a second?
Yes,
From
yeah,
Victoria.
Victoria has the second.
I believe that in the interest of getting something done, I can vote on this, but I will say this. I would feel very uncomfortable if we did any more business this way. I think in fairness, we need to do a better job of this.
Can you be more specific?
Yes.
What would you?
I think that I feel like we're showing preferential treatment here. I think that we should have, knowing that we wanted to get this to city council, we should have notified, before this meeting, we should have notified Moss Verde about the boulders. We should have let them know so they could give us a corrected bid.
If I heard correctly, Alex said that Gomez's bid didn't change significantly with the boulders, so I think we've gotten ourselves thinking that we know what the difference is, and we really don't, because if Gomez's bid didn't change much with the boulders that we have,
Didn't change at all.
then
I find that hard
we
to
are
believe.
talking about.
I think that Gomez is bidding based on what they think that the job will cost for them with some experience of what it's cost in the past. And I think Don made a good point, or somebody made a good point, Lori, that they're already in the neighborhood, their equipment's here, their teams are here, they're working in multiple locations. So I think that's really the reason that they can bring the cost down. Their bid did not change at all, and the acquisition of the boulders came between the two bids. They didn't know. I mean, and actually, truth be told, we told Masverde and Gomez, yeah, we think we have somebody that's probably going to donate some of the boulders, and everyone went great, but there was no quantifiable anything to that. We didn't know how
Like we
many
have
there
8
were,
boulders
what
at
it would
this
cost, nothing. And so, as it is, we only got some of the boulders. Like, eventually that resident is going to redo the rest of their yard, and there'll be more boulders, but not for this project, but hopefully for others. So the difference, when Masverde and Gomez both bid this job initially, Masverde's bid was still significantly higher. They had some elements in there that we did not request, like a dry creek bed and a rain garden. And even pulling that out, I haven't done the math yet, but they were still about 20K over. And so I think, I don't think that it's made a significant impact on the bids. I don't know that Masverde would, I mean, they could go look at the boulders and decide how much. I don't think it's not $20,000 worth of boulders, I'll tell you that.
You know, it's like, I just found you can buy big rocks like that for $95 a ton.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it probably varies from 80 to 150, but, you know, we'll use several tons, but not,
Yeah. I mean,
it's not a huge amount of money to purchase the rock. I think.
and I agree with all of you guys. These are both good bids. These are both good people. So I'm not advocating for one over the other, but I am trying to clarify some of the information regarding the bid and the boulders. So.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion. Alan, do you have any concerns there? Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Great, and look, we are on time. Mary Elizabeth, we hear you, and we want to be the kind of place that's very transparent with everybody as much as possible. And I also know that this project has been approved for like a year and a half.
It feels like 20
And
years.
it's not that big of a project, and so for $20,000, if we can complete this, would be really awesome.
Yeah,
It
I'd
would be a
willing
big
to pitch-
improvement,
It would be a
yeah.
big
At this point, I'd be willing to pitch in.
We'll
on
dig
it.
some ditches for them.
Well, and I
Exactly.
really think too, Masverde is gonna be well suited to things like the parking lot and more commercial aspects that we
Yes.
need done.
Yep.
So, for sure, I'd like to keep them
Engaged, yes.
Yeah,
Agreed.
they had a great bid, and we appreciate all
And
the
this
people
way
who
we
bid.
get to do Gomez, who does a lot for our residents, and we get to use Masverde, and everybody's tailored to their forte. So I love it.
Cool. All right. So the next thing that we're going to look at is the potential improvements to the parking lot. So let us look at. Kayla, can you bring some more pictures in? 'Cause pictures say 1,000 words. Y'all sort of remember. Let's see.
Are we starting with the full? Here's the full.
Yeah, let's start with that full one. There you go. All right. So, in this one, it's basically telling us how many parking spaces we're gonna grab. I wanna talk a little bit about some of the things that have come up when we're looking at the parking lot. I know last time we talked about heat being generated from asphalt. What can we do to have, parking spaces that are well marked, so that people aren't just parking all over the place? We said these are Suburbans, these are not tiny mini cars. So we wanted to create as much parking as possible, as much green space, keeping as much green space as possible, and also thinking about safety. As we have cars that go all the way to that back parking lot, I know that makes some of us crazy sometimes because it literally crosses the walking trail, and it's kind of where kids are not thinking and playing back there. So, and then obviously incorporating the trees, which will provide really needed shade for the areas around the fields for people to be able to watch, and also for just cooling off the trail and things like that. So, keeping a lot of those ideas in mind, this plan actually has, it just has, and Alex, you can jump in here if I don't get this right. The idea behind this one would be to minimize the concrete or asphalt. I'm gonna go ahead and say we're gonna use asphalt. You see that white strip down the middle of the parking lot? That
Yes.
would be the only actual asphalt. So it would be probably reducing what we have in compacted and old asphalt. And then on either side, we are contemplating the use of one of these gridded like,
A grid that you fill with gravel.
you could do
Yeah.
gravel or grass.
Okay.
So in this one, you could even have the grass on one side and gravel on the other side, thinking that it may be possible for the installation of a new irrigation system, which I know everyone is screaming for on 3, 4, and 5, could maybe even reach over to part of that parking lot. We could also just leave it as it either grows or it doesn't. It has some kind of pebble or fill that grass, etc., could grow through. In this one, we would keep that back parking lot with the 12 spaces, again, having it be one of these gridded, hopefully with grass on it. And I'm trying to think of, and then the front one, it looks like it's gravel. Is that just because it doesn't get enough sun?
That's my thinking.
Yeah.
It would be hard to probably grow grass and, save on the expense of more.
Grass is
irrigation.
gonna be, I mean, this is not the most heavily used parking area around, but grass would have a hard time staying alive in that with cars driving over. I like the idea of just making the whole thing with the gridded material, and those things, the grids are, the ones I'm looking at were diamonds, and they were maybe 8 by 5 or so. It's from a picture, but, and you fill it with some real light colored gravel, which is reflective. Water flows right through it. We haven't created impermeable cover, and I dare say it's quite a bit cheaper than concrete. So I don't know what the grid costs, but I know the gravel is pretty cheap.
So, in order for us to get some real bids, what we found is we need a survey. And so, one of the things I think we should contemplate today, action-wise, is to get a survey of the park. That would include topographical, real measurements, and it would show us where existing things are, but also really help us be able to then take it to compare asphalt to this other product, and be able to get some actual bids. Because right now we're sort of like we don't know really where we are in terms of the cost. I believe a survey would be under $5,000. Hopefully.
I think it'd be
Are you talking about just the upper or upper
Just-
and lower?
Well, and that's a good question. We could do both,
Okay.
or we could ask, what's the difference? If we only do the upper right now, because that's where we're focused on the parking lot, or if we did both, what's the cost savings?
I think
Wonder-
there might be a lower, because I think Duke said
Oh.
he used one for the pavilion, but I don't know how extensive it is. I haven't
Okay.
seen it, so.
And we would want the staff to just, again, tell us for sure there isn't a survey. We believe there isn't one.
I'm emailing right now to ask around.
Okay.
So we'll check on
Great.
existing.
Okay, that was gonna be my question.
We do to get this
I would think so.
project going, we could do a survey of really the parking area, and of course, that's right, there'll be some water flow consideration, but if we don't put in a bunch of impermeable cover, that becomes a lot less of a consideration. I'm thinking if we got a survey, just so we know where things are, and we got a topo,
They may
that's,
need a survey anyway for the,
Civil engineer.
yes,
That's
when they start looking at,
So she said civil engineer. That's in case the mic didn't pick it up.
I think you could probably forego needing maybe a landscape architecture plan or an architect's plan or whatever. I mean, this obviously does not qualify, but I think you all could mostly know what you want, and you could give that information to the civil engineer and save yourself the cost of doing both. And I reached out to Mas Verde to see if they could do it, but they don't have a licensed landscape architect, so they cannot produce drawings that would be sufficient.
So calling out there all Rollingwood residents, any landscape architect who wants to do it for free, feel free to come volunteer and let us know at City Hall.
Sarah Hudson's a civil engineer.
Yeah.
Might be a resource.
Okay, so, just, seeing that we would need a survey in order to move forward, is there a motion, to get a survey for the upper park?
I'll
Or
make
both?
I'll make a motion to get one for the upper part. Yeah, to request from council, is that what you're?
Yeah,
Second.
great.
Discussion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alex, you were saying that, do I understand you're saying it might be premature for us to launch into a survey before we contacted a civil engineer? Might they want to come in and do their own survey type of thing?
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Some do provide that service, so yeah, you could potentially do that. But everyone has to start with a survey, however you get it. But if you guys know some civil engineers, that would be great. If the city has any.
There's a few of them around, for
Yeah.
sure.
Do we have a civil engineer we normally use?
Yeah, we do have a city engineer. Of course, engineers can do it, surveyors can do it, and the prices are somewhat different. So, I mean, they all provide the same service. They're all licensed by the state, so we can
Do
kind of
you
shop
have a
around for a value.
preference
I'm new enough here. I don't know any other companies, but
But do you have a preference how we go about it?
whichever one is most cost effective. I mean, it's the same end result, and if we can save the taxpayer money, that's always my
So
preference.
a surveyor would be less expensive than
Usually, yes, ma'am.
the engineer, yes.
Seems like it'd be a good idea to at least talk to a civil engineer that we've used in the past. Just how would you proceed? I mean,
Right, and certainly there are that, and a lot of engineering firms will have surveyors on staff for the same
might be
exact
that a
reason.
survey is a survey is a survey. It might be that they wouldn't change from, but they might pick up more or less details, depending.
Surveys should be pretty standard.
You
I
know.
have a
Yeah.
feeling city council will have an opinion
I do too.
about the best way to do that.
I'm sure they will.
Just request, and they can decide how they
Yeah,
want to go about
Our
it.
motion is to
Yep.
have a survey done of the upper park. Go
Do
ahead.
you mean the whole upper park or the area for the parking? Because I don't know that you need it for the whole park, and that would be a significant cost savings.
Well, I have
So-
one thought
go
on
ahead.
that though. We're looking at irrigation at some point too, so might we ought to just get one of the whole area that they could then use it when they do the irrigation? Wouldn't they need a survey when they go to do that or not? I have no idea.
No,
No? Okay,
they'll just do a drawing.
okay.
So, we,
Because when they do the survey, they're gonna do everything they find.
Yeah.
The top of this wall, this post, all of these things,
Yep.
and that takes time, so I would,
so could you help us define the boundaries of what survey we need in
Like-
words?
Well, what I say might be different from what a civil engineer would say,
Okay.
but
I mean, certainly the area that you're thinking about having parking,
Mhm.
Magic.
you know, just all of this.
Mhm.
And I would go ahead and do the entry.
Yep.
Just to begin. Because I think you might be wanting to do some updates there potentially, you might as well have it, so. And I looked at it, I think it's, between 1 and 2 acres, it's not a huge area, maybe 1.5.
So, okay, so then the verbiage would be to survey from entry, including the parking lot to the left
Mhm.
and all the way down the drive, and then to encompass the parking lot
Up to the trail,
Mhm.
up to the trail in the back.
yes.
Everything north and east of the fencing,
goes down into that wash between the park and the pool, they could probably stop there.
Yeah, I would say maybe 5 feet on the other side of the walking trail, above the parking lot. So, I mean, if you used the walking
where it's
trail,
curved.
like just, I don't know, 5 feet from the walking trail, and then go all the way around, and then when you get to the parking lot, go to the fence line, and then come down, and then all the way to the bottom of the driveway. Does that seem reasonable?
Mm-hmm.
Are y'all okay for that to be part of the motion?
Yes.
Okay, great. Any other discussion?
Making all kinds of progress.
Yeah. Okay. All those
Just
in favor?
keep going.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And then once we have a survey, we'll be able to get a little bit more on numbers for next steps on the parking. But be thinking about, the permeability, whether we have asphalt or it's all pervious, and
They have a specific grass that they grow, that they plant inside those paver things. It's a very specific grass, isn't it? Oh, you would know more.
Well, I don't know the grass, but I think that we're sort of trying to move away from the concrete pavers that you're referring to, because those tend to move and shift and crack.
okay,
And
okay.
so I think, this is the trend, is to use this sort of underlayment, and there's many versions that you can use. But I think it's just going to be much more stable and long lasting. So, and I think you could probably use the same grass. It's
Okay.
about the same.
Do we want to include a topo as part of the survey?
That
It
is.
will be.
It will
Yeah.
be.
They will be, okay,
Yes.
I'll pick that up.
so topo will be part of that. Okay. All right. So that's just one step on parking lot, but I love it. Let's see. Now we have our last 10 minutes. We're going to talk about park donations and friends of. I know Don has done a lot of work. If y'all have had a chance to look through some of the stuff that he has proposed. So tell me right now, do we have anything that's is it already going in the water bills or no?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, nothing has happened yet, okay.
Here's kind of status of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Have we,
Go ahead.
can I ask a history question? I know we've done stuff in the water bills before. Do we have any history of how well that raises funds?
I know that there was a previous effort for park donations in the past. That was before my time, so I'm not sure that's something that I can give you some more information on.
I'd just be curious if, we're spinning our wheels in the right direction, or if we need to do something other than the water bills. Because in my opinion, I don't think the water bill is gonna generate a whole lot of funds.
We could ask Sandra Farrell, somebody like that, or Tony Hudson, someone like that that's been on.
I know when I first started, we tried that and we ended up taking it out, so that's why.
Could we put something in the water bill that, requesting donations?
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it. I don't remember if we actually did it, but I think for some reason or another, either we did it and we pulled it pretty quick because it wasn't working, or we found out from history that wasn't a great way of generating funds.
The more
So-
we've gotten into this, the more I'm wondering if it's the best way to go too, simply because of the number of steps I'm finding that actual staff has to go through to implement it. When you get to the City of Austin utility bills, there's just a thing you check and you can give how much ever money you want to the parks, and it still exists. But that must be a lot less cumbersome. If the City of Austin does that, they must have a different system. Because
Well,
the steps that they would have to go through here just seem really, really.
It's not bad if we set it up right. If somebody sets up a recurring donation, then it shows up just like City of Austin. It's a line item on the water bill and they can pay it with one payment. Do I have that correct, Veronica?
Correct. But it has to be a set amount, right? They can't just choose a different amount. Correct.
It's a recurring amount.
And then
It
they
shows
have
up
to call
printed
Veronica
on
to
their
set
water
it
bill.
up.
If they want to make a non-recurring, then that's a separate check. We made up a little,
Yeah,
a
solid
little piece that they can
yeah.
cut into thirds and send with their payment.
So Don,
Could
will you tell us so the recurring one, how does the one sign up? Walk us through the steps.
I didn't bring a copy of it, but it's a
It's
a
right
form.
here on this.
This
friendly
thing here,
little
you just,
little
now
toad.
this is a work in progress. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
it's, I expect somebody would make it look less like it popped off a spreadsheet, but, if you wanna make a non-recurring, you check that, and then there it is.
And you have to fill it out physically, you can't do it online.
Right, but this is for a, someone says, you know what? I just wanna drop $100 on the park because whatever. They know they're making a non-recurring.
Mhm.
And I guess if they wanna increase the amount, then on a recurring, they just need to communicate that to Veronica. And I really don't know exactly how the mechanic, but I do know that if it's recurring, it's easy from an accounting standpoint.
Right.
If it's non-recurring, it's a little more bulky and it needs a separate payment. And this document here that this is on the website, and this will be sent out quarterly. These two would be sent out quarterly with the water bill. So this thing explains what it is, how a recurring works and how a non-recurring works. And then you've got a form to send if it's a non-recurring. If it's a recurring, this form could be used to set that up. You just click recurring, and it's not a separate check or anything. It's just like City of Austin does.
So I would say in addition to this, first of all, the verbiage, as Diana and Don and I have worked on this, anybody that wants to edit this, add to this, do whatever, we have no ego tied up in this. We'd love some help. So jump in. Second of all, and you bring up a good point, maybe the water bill isn't the best way, but maybe there are multiple ways we can approach this. There is that billboard thing or whatever you call it that's in the parking lot up there. I think we need something large font, large print that needs to go in there. Maybe the QR code or something there that people that use the park can scan that they can donate. And I think this needs a QR code on it.
I was gonna say those texts we get from the city, like maybe monthly we send out one that says interested in donating to the park. We'd love to have you participate, and it has a link, and it's something that goes directly into this fund. And I think more people will do something on their phone rather than fill out a form.
That's definitely a great idea. However, one thing to mention is that we try to utilize the rave system for
Emergencies.
yes, or just like donations to the
Park is
park
an
is important. Yes, totally valid.
But
Totally
it's not
valid.
emergency.
The other
Correct.
thing that
Yes, that's right.
We could use the water bill for is just to put a flyer in there with a QR code.
Yeah.
And that would.
That's something
way
that can be done.
That
Do
would-
most
wouldn't
people
have to
get
add
water bills, or are some people
stuff to
getting them
500
electronically?
What do you say the ratio for water bills?
I have about 226 people that are registered
So
for
half.
e-bills.
So half the people do e-bills, half do a physical bill. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know.
So
And
is
if-
there a
Happy
mechanism
announcements.
that we can,
Okay.
is there a mechanism that we could take donations that simply, where you scan a QR code and it takes you there? Because we're talking about all paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So-
only for non-recurring.
Okay, but what I'd like to know is there an electronic way on my phone that I can do recurring or non-recurring or both?
I think we could. I would have to look into it a little bit more, but I think so. If we were to create an online
Or even
form
just
type thing.
quarterly, so we don't over ask,
Mhm.
but something, because I just feel like electronically people are way more inclined to go, oh, sure, I'll give some money,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right.
And
I think we've been thinking kind of old school here. and we need to think differently.
Yes.
But this is really, this is
We needed to do
This
this.
is extremely
Yeah, yeah.
simple. I
Yeah.
hope we're not thinking about junking this.
No, we're
because
not.
this
No,
is-
we're
To
talking
me,
about.
this is a good place to start.
It
I mean,
is.
we
And-
can put a QR code on this thing.
Yep.
We can
Yes,
put one on this thing here.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But this is, once it's set up, I think it will, I don't know how much it will generate, but I'm sure it'll generate something.
And kind of going back to our meeting we had, or I had with Don and Diana, we were discussing possibly creating a web page for all the donations, and that's kind of where your verbiage comes in. And then, you know, if I can configure how to accept, you know, donations or how to set that up, that could be added to that web page too. So I think it's definitely doable. I would just need to look into it a little bit more.
And we should have a running list of names like they do for the school, like, oh, thank you to our
Yeah.
donors.
Mhm.
There'll be
On the
somebody
webpage.
who donated $2 and show up on that
It
list.
doesn't matter.
That's okay, it's
You
still
can
a
do a
donation.
Under
Yeah.
50.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Michaela. That's
Thank
super
you.
helpful.
Really.
We appreciate your willingness to take on yet another responsibility.
But this is pretty straightforward once it's, the recurring will be, Veronica will just take the amount that's for the park and it just gets a different account number and plugs it there and
Yeah.
that's,
And we're just talking about trying to maximize the effectiveness of this.
right.
Yeah,
but once
Making
it's-
sure
once
that
it's
we make
recurring-
it easy to give for everybody.
So Don, this was really important work to get it down in words, and we're just gonna keep building on it. That would
Okay.
be the point. And in development, a lot of times you have what are called campaigns, and so you have an annual fund. There's different ways of doing this, but you don't want to just drone on every month with the same thing, because otherwise people will start ignoring it. We all know.
Oh, that's a good point.
So,
I like that
so,
formula.
again, this committee, and I'm happy to meet if there's only 3 of you or 2 of you at the time, but I do want to, in my dream world, here's what happens. We find a couple of really great other citizens who want to chair the fundraiser for this year, and they really, focus it on.
We have the means to collect the money
We
set
have
up
the
and
means
then
of-
they,
and then they basically help us with
Messaging.
all the different ways we can message. You know, and they're basically, hey,
These are
I've
separate.
for this year, I'm the park queen and king, or whatever we wanna call them, and I really care about it, and I'm gonna get my friends to help, and I'm gonna get everyone, and either they do quarterly, or they say, we have an annual ask. This is the time of year that we ask everyone to give back to their parks, you know? Because that way you focus your energies and fundraising on not just throwing a huge net and hoping, but really being like, okay, and then there is nothing like having your neighbor call you and say, Dawn, will you give? Because when that person is a human being who asks you, as opposed to this I can ignore on the website and a piece of paper, you're much more likely to give. And then we'll build on it. But
And
part
We
of
should
it
start
is-
with the people who use the park with their dogs.
We should
I-
start with all park users, people who are regularly using the park right now.
I agree.
Even the
think
Western Hills Little
illustrations
League
are important,
families,
too.
even the girls softball families, because they're there. They see it. They see that it needs love and attention, and so yeah.
I think pictures of what, like, once we get this
Absolutely.
done, posted
Mhm.
on an example of what your funds can do.
Exactly.
And we've actually done one.
yeah, this documented, it had some pictures like Alex generates.
Yep.
with Boulders and trees and,
By the way, I think the verbiage at the beginning is just, it's,
is that the
And
You,
one?
let's
that one
do
that I
some
gave you?
wordsmithing. Why don't you do a little wordsmithing between
Yeah, I
now
left-
and the
I
next meeting?
have, I
I
need
had a-
someone else to
Okay.
help.
I had a couple of comma errors and sentence fragments.
No, I fixed that, but,
You did?
yeah, but
So,
it's
Michaela,
still,
did you have?
the first couple of sentences.
If you guys like, we can schedule some time, and you guys are more than welcome to come in, sit with Veronica, Alan, and I, and we can talk about, other ideas. If y'all are wanting it on the water bill, Veronica's our expert, and we can help move this process along if
Okay.
y'all need it.
I'm asking, what's the next step? We started off with a very short blurb on the water bill, something sent out quarterly, the water bill directs you to the website, and then, the three documents, what's on the water bill, a payment coupon, and something in the website. I don't know how to push it beyond that. To me, it's like, feedback, please.
Okay, we're talking about taking it from there. We're talking about, that's only gonna reach half the people,
No,
because
it
not
will
every.
reach everybody that gets the water bill.
Only
But they-
half the
only
people,
half of 'em
only
get it.
half the residents get a physical water bill. The other people pay online.
But
So,
don't they
it's
get
so-
an email with the amount, so they're getting something?
If you do receive an e-bill, if we have a bill message or an attachment that goes along with it, those are sent like in a PDF or electronically to people who receive e-bills as well.
But are all e-bills auto pay?
Not all e-bills.
No.
Sorry, I didn't see where you
Because
were.
those people aren't
Yeah,
looking
I'm
at a
not
bill
looking,
at all.
I'm auto pay, so I get you.
I've had a
Okay.
couple bills that were 4
I
times
think
my
we-
amount,
I
so
think
I
we
look
need to
at
set
mine.
up a meeting with Michaela,
Yeah,
like she
that's the next
suggested.
step.
I think we can do this together. Let's do that.
Because we want to get a web page to start off with that gives information and introduces the concept that this is going to go out in your water bill.
And
And then we're going to work on getting a couple of chairs out there who are park super users who know everybody in the park and can start saying, I need you to go on there and sign up for a $10 recurring. And so we'll do sort of a 6-week drive of we're trying to get as many people to be park adopters as or something like that. We're not there yet. Let's start with the web page and this and
The
a
last-
QR code.
The last thing we want to do is direct people to something that isn't fully fleshed out.
Yeah.
Right.
So y'all are gonna come
So
back to us.
I'm saying, what do we need? Where?
We need to set
You're
a
gonna
meeting.
set up a
You're
meeting
gonna
with
go meet
Michaela.
All
And we're
right.
gonna make it look good with our website as it is.
And you,
Now, Alex, you've been
you
very
all can do
patient.
something that looks a
I
little
don't
more
wanna drag this
professional
on.
than
Oh, you
this.
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll help you
So-
with whatever you need.
I am so sorry, but I have my regular job to go to. And, is there anything else about, I think we're in a good spot with
No,
this.
I feel like we made a lot of progress today.
Yeah, good. That's saying something.
Yeah.
All right. All right, do I have a motion to
Motion to adjourn.
adjourn? Great. Second. All in favor?